So Roland, how do you think you've done as an instructor?
I think being an instructor and a promoter at the same time was very difficult for me. I didn't have a blueprint. I had no staff to teach me. So I would have to say I've done a poor job. And one of the reasons I've done a poor job is basically too many eggs in one basket, maybe. I don't know if that's the right word. In other words, I was spread thin. A lot of these fighters in the early days wanted a lot of attention. And unfortunately, I made a living off promoting, not off the school. So I put a lot of my focus in promoting, so a lot of the fighters got discouraged. Plus, you know, I came from an old school style of fighting. I believed in strength, positioning, transition, keep the game simple. I'm kind of like ahead of its time a little bit, you know, where a lot of the students wanted to use the razzle-dazzle BJJ stuff with the gi that I was totally against. And maybe it was probably because I was a power player and I relied on that game too. So I really don't know. But in the early days, when I moved to Arizona in 1996, I had a group that came in that was fantastic, from the Edwin DeWeese to the Joe Riggs to the Santino DeFrancos. There was many, many more. And then I had a second wave that came around 2003. But by this time, I was out of the game teaching. I had another person teach. So I had two waves in the last 14 years. The second wave, some of the good fighters we had was Seth Belinsky, Cal Kingsbury, Gilbert Adonis, just to name a few. These are three guys that fought in the UFC. Two of them are still in it. So I've been blessed with talent coming through. So I would say I definitely failed as an instructor. I had the opportunity and I failed, and that's the way life is. And but at the same time, I'm happy where I'm at today. Would I've changed a few things in the past? Absolutely. But what did I know? I didn't have no blueprint. I did the best that I can. You can click it off.
So Roland, how are your relationships with your past students have been?
It's actually poor, and it's sad. It's really, really sad, because back in the 90s and early 2000s, I felt very close to the fighters. And I think what happened was it was a little bit of, maybe I didn't understand. I'm not going to put the blame on them. I'm going to put the blame on myself, because I was an adult. A lot of my fighters used to fight in the amateur levels at Rage in the Cage, and they felt that, for some particular reason, they felt that they should have been paid. But little did they know, I was training them free, one-on-one as well. And as you know, amateur fighters do not get paid. Then when they moved up to the pro ranks, I never got a penny out of their purses. But I still trained them. I still let them train for free. I would go on trips with them, spend my own money on my food other than the flight. They got all the money on the purses. So when they fought Rage in the Cage, some reason I think they felt that they should have been paid more, or maybe they felt they were taking advantage. And I think as they got older, they started to realize the business world. And I think, actually I know, because they're coming to me one at a time, and realizing it and recognizing how lucky they were with me and how cool I was. But you know, time went on, I moved on, and they moved on, but it's been very bad. It's sad, because I would say most of the criticism that I've had as an instructor came from my ex-students. We had an opportunity to have a dynasty. Back in the days, it was myself and Pat Miletich. We had the two strongest camp, along with Matt Hume in Washington. And we had an opportunity to dominate and really build something really big. But unfortunately, we all went our separate ways. They lived their lives, and I lived my life, and we kind of went our separate ways. And occasionally, one will come at me, and basically we talked, we fixed it, and we moved on.
How do you think you've done as a promoter?
In some ways, I think I did really well. In some ways, I think I did really poor. What a lot of people didn't realize was I'm a small-time promoter. Maybe the perception, I made it bigger than what it was, maybe. So people thought that I was rich or I was big-time. What people didn't realize, I was a telemarketer from 2003 to 2005. Matter of fact, in 2005, April of 2005, when I did my very first show at Glendale Arena, we drew roughly around 8,000 people. What people didn't realize, that 6,000 people were free. What people didn't realize is that same day I took the day off. Monday through Thursday that week, I worked a 9-to-5 job. I took the Friday off the next day, and then the show was Saturday. People didn't realize that. And back in those days, you know, people come to the events, they see all these people, they think I'm making a lot of money, and a lot of fighters started to get upset with me because they felt like they weren't getting paid enough, whatever reason. The amateurs were upset. What they don't realize is we're a small-time show. I'm here to give them a platform, opportunity to fight, unlike a lot of the states, especially in those early days. They got opportunities to build their records, gain some experience. The martial art instructors were able to build their schools. But yet, at the same time, I always felt I was a villain. I always felt that everyone, for some reason, thought I was taking advantage of the kids, or the schools, or the system, whatever it was. I never was. Look, I wasn't perfect. There were some things I did that if I had to go back, I might have changed a little bit. But overall, I'm very happy with myself. I think I was fair. I tried my best. I try to please everyone as much as I can. You know, sometimes I had to make a business decision. And some other businesses, my competitors, didn't like it. But that's business. It wasn't personal. So as far as a promoter, I would give myself a C- grade. I would say I've sort of failed.
What do you think the perception of Rage in the Cage is to people?
I think in the early days when the UFC wasn't big and they didn't have television, the perception of Rage in the Cage was the show here in Arizona. We did a fantastic job in the early days because we really didn't have a lot of competition. Back in the early days, it was like the only show in town and television. So I would say now it's changed because the mainstream fight fan doesn't really come like they once did because there's television, there's the UFC almost every single night. So now we're basically relying on the fighters' friends to bring a crowd. So the UFC has helped Rage in the Cage in one way, but hurt it in another way. And you know, it's not their fault, it's not my fault. I just got to get innovative, move forward, and create new ways to draw the mainstream. We're still successful. I'm not nearly where I thought I would be right now. If you would have asked me 14 years ago, where would I be today? I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But at the same time, I'm very happy though. At the same time, I'm kind of contradicting myself because right now we're doing the shows at the Wild Horse Pass Casino in Chandler. That's a wonderful, great venue. But it's not the biggest venue. But I'm very happy with the venue. But I thought I would have been at the U.S. Airways, or Glendale Arena, Staples Center, all over the place because, not to toot my horn, but I think I'm a pretty good promoter. Just to give you an example, I promote shows almost every weekend. Sometimes I do 2 shows in 2 nights. I've done 3 shows in two days. 1 in the afternoon, 1 at night. So, unfortunately, I have not been able to take Rage in the Cage to the next level. I tried, I just haven't been able to do it. I'm not smart enough, or maybe I just don't meet the right people. But at the same time, I think the perception of Rage in the Cage is good, though. I think it's had its ups and downs with the fighters and the fans as well.
What do you think the perception of Rage in the Cage is to fighters?
I think Rage in the Cage has had its ups and downs. I think a lot of fighters were maybe influenced by other people saying that they should be paid more. The promoter's making all this money and he's taking advantage of you. But people need to realize we're not the UFC. We don't have major sponsors. We don't have major money behind us. The pro fighters should have looked at it like this. A great place to get some experience, great place for a platform, great place to possibly go to the UFC, Rage in the Cage, to develop more UFC fighters than any show in America. Matter of fact, last Saturday on TV, we have 2 fighters in the UFC that fought, John Moranga and Jamie Varner. I mean, so you can't go into Rage in the Cage and expect to make money. So what I've done over the years, I had to adjust. I'm letting fighters now sell tickets. I'm leaving it in their hands along with the purse. We can't give them a large purse. We don't have that kind of money. The budget's not there. The show will flip-flop and will go under. A lot of the amateur fighters, they really shouldn't complain about it because let me give you an example. When you enter a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, you pay an entry fee to compete, okay? When you enter Rage in the Cage, you do not pay an entry fee. But yet, the promoter that does the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, he's an awesome guy. You go to Rage in the Cage, you don't do an entry fee, and I'm a bad guy. I just can't seem to win. Okay, sure, the fighter has to go out and get his medicals. It might cost him $200, but it's good for the entire year. Look how many tournaments they do a year. They drive out to Las Vegas to do tournaments. Gas money, hotel money, food, add it up. So why is it okay for a BJJ promoter to promote events with the entry fee, but yet it's not okay for me to make money like they are? I'm a businessman. This is my job. Just be excited, be happy. But I will say this, in the last 2 to 3 years, times have changed. Fighters of the past, they were always talking shit or finish. 99% of them are gone, they're done, their careers didn't happen. They thought the grass was greener. This new group of guys have been great the last 2 years. They're more professional, they're more educated, they understand what Rage in the Cage is all about. It's a tremendous show. Just have fun, get experience, develop your record, and hopefully one day you can go to the pinnacle UFC and make a lifestyle or a living for yourselves.
So where do you see Rage in the Cage's future?
I'll be honest with you, I don't really know. We're in 2012, August of 2012, and I'll be honest with you, I'm really wrestling with myself right now. I'm asking myself, do I really want to continue this business? In the next couple months, I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. Rage in the Cage, as far as lucrative, times have changed. Now I'm just getting by. At one time, I was able to make a fairly decent living, but times have changed. The economy, UFC on TV every weekend, and I'm basically just doing a big party at the Wild Horse Pass Casino for people. And that's okay, but you know, at the end of the day, I need to make a living too. So I'll be honest with you, I'm going to decide in the next couple months. I'm not really sure. I've been thinking about moving to another state and creating a new business. But again, like I said, I'm not really sure. I'll see in the next couple months what happens.
Do you enjoy promoting?
You know, it's funny. That's a funny question. I actually love it and I hate it. Let me first tell you why I hate it. When I lose money, I hate it. I couldn't tell you how many times I've given free tickets the last 14 years. I can count on my hands how many people has bought me a Coke, take me to lunch, take me to dinner. Not that I was expecting anything, or maybe a phone call, hey Roland, thank you for the free tickets. I hate that part. I hate the fact I don't make money sometimes. I would say, oh yeah, and when fighters are talking madness or talking bad things about me on the internet or whatever it is, that's what I don't like. On the flip side, who doesn't like to make money? I love meeting the new fighters and new coaches, seeing the sport grow, meet people at the shows, just watching everybody happy, the energy, it's fantastic. So it's like yes and no. I would say more yes, I enjoy it more than I don't.
Do you enjoy teaching?
I would have to say kind of no, and the reason is I'm possibly burnt out. I started training in 1994. I'm more of a serious instructor. I don't really like to teach people that come in just for fun. I like to teach people that want to go to the UFC or professionals. That's more my thing. That's what I enjoy. I don't really enjoy just training people just to come here just to have fun. And you know, if I did, I probably would have a ton of students and make a lot of money off teaching. I'm a very simple instructor. I don't do a whole lot of razzle dazzle. I'm a straightforward guy. I'm not gonna bullshit you. I'm gonna tell you like it is. It's gonna hurt you. You're gonna hate me. But one day when you get older, you're gonna love me if you can stay in the hole long enough, in the trenches. In most cases, I would say most of the guys didn't like my teaching. So that's why I'm basically where I'm at today. But that's okay. That's okay because, you know, at the end of the day, they're paying to be taught, and if they're not happy with me, I totally understand. But a lot of the students that were getting trained free by me didn't understand that they're getting trained by me, and some reason they didn't see it as a value. That's money, that's time out of myself. And when they start taking advantage of me, we're not showing up to practice or not going to the shows or whatever the case is, that's what bothered me, and that's why I am where I am today. Could I get myself up to teach again with the general public? I think so. I've taken some time off. I can tell I'm kind of building myself again to wanting to teach the public. And believe it or not, I'm looking at getting away from the fighters. I'm actually flipping it around. That's the funny part. But we'll see what holds in the future.
Can you develop a MMA fighter who has no experience and take him to the UFC?
Absolutely, I've done it many times. The first fighter that I took to the UFC with actually no sports background other than a little bit of high school was Edwin Babyface Deweese. I've done it with Gilbert Adonis. He was just a high school football player. Joel Riggs was a high school wrestler. Look, this is what I tell people all the time. Anybody can get an NCAA wrestling champion. You just teach him a few little things and he could possibly make the UFC eventually, or at least get into Tough Enough Show, whatever the case is. That's not very difficult. These fighters, these wrestlers that come from collegiate backgrounds, they have history. You know they're dedicated. You know they're tough. You know they have a grind. You don't get a Division I scholarship just to be average. Especially as an athlete, you got to be pretty tough. And then when you get into being a champion or Olympic caliber, you know you have a thoroughbred horse. But when you have a kid that has no sports history behind him, has no idea what it is to work hard and push and fight to be in the elite, it's very, very difficult. Especially when they're a little bit older, like 18 and up. They've set their ways, they're getting into girls, they're partying, and they don't have the discipline of training. Where I come from old school, when I played college football, you know, back in my days, my coaches were rough. They were mean to me. You know, Sarria, you don't got what it takes. Show me what you got. And that's how I grew up. And the kids today, I can't do that to them. I have to tell them, God, you're looking really good today. Keep it going. And I'm lying to myself, and I had a hard time with that. So yes, I can absolutely take a fighter to the UFC. I've done it before. I can do it again. And it is what it is.
So how do you see the talent in Rage in the Cage fighters lately?
You know what? I think it has dropped quite a bit. I think a lot of the fighters today don't have the foundation of the fighters of the past. It could be a combination of a lot of things, but I think fighters today are trying to learn MMA and doing too many things and at one time and not becoming good at one thing. Because I believe an MMA guy, you got to always have that one piece of your game that you can always fall back on. That's why when you see a black belt BJJ or a collegiate wrestler or a professional Muay Thai guy, at least he has that one discipline that is at a very, very high level. But I see a lot of the fighters today that they're not very good at something. They just know a little bit of everything. They come in there, they're tough guys, they got some nice energy, but I just don't see them going to the next level unless they have that one thing that's really, really high level and that solid foundation. And without that, I think they're going to have a lot of problems. So I would say the talent coming through now is probably the worst I've seen in many, many years. In the middle of the 2000s, between I would say 2003, 2008, a lot of talent came through. A lot of talent. And I think plus a lot of the instructors today are training their UFC guys, and I don't blame them. They're trying to make money and they're trying to build their names, and they're kind of abandoning the other guys. And it's becoming a business, it's becoming money. Now they understand me a little bit. Okay.
I noticed there's a lot of MMA schools in Arizona. What do you think about that?
I think it's good for me, especially as a promoter. As far as having a school, obviously it's going to take away. Like I said, you know, I don't know a lot of these guys. I can only go off what I see at Rage in the Cage, and I don't see the talent that good. A lot of instructors today I think they're teaching premature. I don't think they're really ready to maybe teach and bring these guys to fight these other major schools with instructors with a nice long history of teaching, competing. So I think what's happening now is there's a lot of students that are looking for convenience, somewhere close to their house to train, instead of maybe saying, oh, you know, I'm going to drive that 20 miles because I know this instructor is going to take me where I want to go. If you're just a regular person and you want to just have fun, hey, I got it. Go to that gym right next to you. But if you want to go to the top, go to the next level, you really got to do your research. You got to really see what this instructor has done, especially with who you are and what your style is. If you don't come from sports at all, it's going to be a difficult thing to find an instructor to take you to the UFC or the promised land. If you come from a very high level collegiate wrestling or black belt and etc., in many cases those guys are going to do their homework because they come from a history of high level sports. So I would have to say, I think once again, I see a lot of instructors that maybe really shouldn't be teaching in terms of trying to take these guys to the next level in terms of going to the UFC and so forth. It's my personal opinion. There you have it.
Roland, are you ever going to compete again?
Yeah, I am. You know, now that I'm 29 years old, I'm just joking, I'm 49 years old, I'll be 50 in a couple of months. You know, it's a very difficult thing. As you get older, you know, life takes its course, business, bills, relationships, and it's very difficult because at the end of the day, let's face it, I'm not going to make a living off fighting. My days are past. To do it just for fun, it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. It takes money, believe it or not, to travel and compete and so forth, unless you do it locally. But yeah, you know, I stay kind of in shape still. I think for a 49-year-old guy, I still think I can be very competitive, believe it or not. At least I think. You always think you could until you get out there. But I feel pretty good. This is what I look like at 49 years old.